What is the lockdown event in Marathon? In this video, we'll be taking a look at the lockdown event on Dire Marsh and showcase the crazy loot you can get and why exactly this happens. Before we get into how exactly you complete the lockdown event, you need to come prepared with an antivirus pack. This is crucial since the event creates massive energy fields on the map, and entering these zones without an antivirus pack will damage you very fast. When you use an antivirus pack, an orange bar will appear over your health bar and will only decrease when you are in the zone. It will act as a sort of timer for the amount of time you can spend there. But how do you even start the lockdown event? It can only occur on the map Dire Marsh, and at some point during your run there, you might get a notification saying lockdown and then the name of the point of interest on the map that the lockdown event is occurring. So in this example, the lockdown is appearing on the greenhouse location. In the sky, a giant square will fold open, and it will fire a blast of red energy onto the lockdown location. This will generate a rectangular energy field around the area. When you enter the lockdown zone, you'll be looking for a key, marked with a blue icon. Once you have this key, look for a beacon of light that points you to a chest and a hand scanner. Use the hand scanner immediately, as it will disable the red energy field, so you don't have to worry about your antivirus pack, and any of your teammates that didn't have one can enter safely. Nearby the chest will be a lockdown drive. Take the drive and plug it into the chest. This will spawn 3 waves of UESC enemies, and when they're defeated, you'll be allowed to open up the chest. You'll get some loot and a lockdown key. When you've completed this lockdown zone, another square will open up at another location, activating another red energy field. You can extract at this point or complete this second lockdown. If you do the second one, take the lockdown key from the first chest. For the second lockdown event, just rinse and repeat. Use an antivirus pack, disable the red field, turn on the chest, defeat UESC, and get your loot. Once the second wave is complete, the third and final square will deploy the last lockdown field, and you simply do the same process again. You can get some pretty great loot from this event, like a red tier UESC marathon access key, which will be very important on the Cryo Archive map, though we don't know the exact details behind this key just yet. If you do get this UESC marathon contraband key, hang on to it because it's going to be important pretty soon. Real quick, if you're enjoying this video so far, please consider subscribing as it would help the channel out a ton. So alongside your loot, you'll also get a codex entry upon exfil, and I want to take a moment to look at the lore for this event. It reads as follows. Quote, a data blockade is an anti-runner defensive measure that covers a large portion of a region with an invasive signal programmed specifically to confuse a shell's biocybernetic connections, making it increasingly dangerous to be within its range as a runner's neural integrity will eventually fray. As scary as that sounds, a UESC lockdown tends to mean there is something of value worth the effort somewhere within the blockade's area of effect. Daring runners see a lockdown as an opportunity worth the risks. The trick to surviving is multi-phased, but hinges on the technical requirements of a blockade's operation. First, to cover an area of any significant size, the UESC must deploy a steward operational support vessel. These are in short supply on Tau Ceti. So from the start, the blockade requires dedicated resources that may limit the UESC's efforts or responses across other zones. Second, the blockade requires the steward to connect with an endpoint signal node somewhere within the affected area. Essentially, a digital link must be established to trigger and maintain the blockade's AoE. If the lockdown requires a planet-side connection, that's something a runner can locate and disrupt. That's assuming that they can survive the invasive data assault long enough to get around UESC security deployments, find the off switch, and any loot worth the pain. Then escape. No easy task. But prepared runners can buffer their shell systems with an antivirus pack, buying them time to push their luck. So we are told here that the UESC deploys data blockades with the lockdown, specifically designed as an anti-runner defensive mechanism. It confuses the shell's biocybernetic connections, which is why it is so dangerous. But there are a few questions that it raises here, like how is the UESC able to interfere with runner shells like this, and what is the UESC attempting to shield from runners? So I want to take this event to dive a little bit into some of the lore here with Marathon. The UESC has a very interesting past with runner shells I want to take a look at. First, let's hear what the UESC's Captain Orion thinks about our activities on Tau Ceti 4.
Attention runner. Tau Ceti 4 is off limits. The planet, its colony, and all connected resources are property of the Unified Earth Space Council. Under UESC law, You are trespassing here and have been marked as an enemy of the state. Theft or data harvesting from this protected system will be met with force. Final warning. Surrender or face extermination.
This dialogue is the basis of the conflict between all of the factions. The UESC believes that Tau City 4, the colony, and its resources are their property, and are preventing companies like Traxxas from reclaiming their assets, even when they have legal rights to them. Our runners are just the hired talent for these organizations to fight against the rule of the UESC. The lockdown event is a representation of their rule. The UESC has a deep history with runner shells as well, which allows us to understand how the lockdown event can scramble runner shells. Take a look at the codex entry for the destroyer shell and its search and destroy ability. Quote, destroyers are products of the UESC's combat science labs. They were first designed for aggressive conflict resolution scenarios, but were banned from official military use with the passage of the Consequences of Violence Amendment in 2879. Many corporate entities have taken to using branded destroyer shells in their high priority security deployments. Runners have been utilizing them via illicit channels since at least 2872. Though official UESC statements condone the use of destroyer shells, rumors suggest that they have been deployed in clandestine operations against runner activities across Seoul. End quote. Quote, as a dedicated conflict resolution system, the destroyer shell was engineered from first principles to be an offensive weapon specifically used for surgical strikes against enemy personnel and machinery, in conjunction with larger scale UESC combat deployments. A combination of search and destroy's too efficient lethality and reports of mental destabilization in soldiers with prolonged use of its neural HUD live round cross mapping caused the UESC to discontinue use of the destroyer shell all up. Most runners assumed the offlining of the destroyer was a public relations mandate as cover for various more terrible UESC operations. Destroyer shells are a creation of the UESC and were ultimately discontinued and banned from military usage. However, it is suggested that the discontinuation was a public relations mandate to cover up illegal and underground operations. An interesting takeaway is that the destroyer's search and destroy ability caused mental destabilization in soldiers who operated the shell, which is something to take note of. While the destroyers are offline in the public eye, runners like ourselves have refitted them through illegal means, and it seems that the UESC operates them in secret as well. On the codex entry for the recon shell, we read, quote, runner kit bashing of a shell's underlying systems to better fit their criminal needs is said to have played a part in jailbreaking, a deep-coded command follow protocol hidden inside all personality matrices originating from UESC combat science labs, raising concerns over the legitimacy of a UESC deployed runner's free thought and their ability to consider active orders. Maybe another reason the UESC had to shelve their public-facing runner operations. This suggests that the recon shell, which was also designed by the UESC, controls the runner's free thought and obedience. It makes them subservient to their rule. And again, it's implied that the UESC is using runner operations still, but keeping it very discreet and secret. With their experience in shell technology, it makes sense that the UESC are able to damage and affect runner shells with the lockdown event. The UESC lockdown is meant to keep runners out, so that they can harvest something from within, which makes you wonder what they are truly looking for. Their overwhelming presence on Tau Ceti and stark resistance to allowing anyone else to come there really makes you think about what they are attempting to keep hidden. The lockdown event is just another example of their efforts at keeping things secret. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please subscribe and let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Click the video on screen right now for more marathon content, and again, thank you for watching.